Hi, everyone. Lisa Sabaniak here from lifelikeyoumeanit.com. And today I'm going to talk to you about an NLP strategy that we can use in order to shift our perspective on our past experiences. And that is that every behavior has a positive intention. So I'm going to do a series that is all NLP strategies that can get you thinking differently, because that's really what the work that I do is all about. It's we can't go back and change what's happened to us, right? We can't obviously change past experiences, and we don't know what the future holds for us. But what we can do is we can go in and make different choices for how we are experiencing whatever has happened in the past. And that is regardless if you've experienced a trauma like abuse or not. Okay. So this isn't about pretending that something didn't happen and ignoring it, or telling ourselves, well, it really wasn't that bad, or comparing what we've gone through to what somebody else has gone through and saying, well, gosh, I had it easy compared to them, so I should just forget about all this torment that I'm going through. It's not about any of that, right? The work that I do is not about lying to ourselves. It's about discovering ourselves really, wholly, and truly. So, what I would like to talk about today is an NLP strategy where we are just simply going to try to shift our perspective through the understanding that every behavior has a positive intention. Now, I know that this is a really big one to start off with, and I know there's going to be some of you that are going to have heard that sentence and gone, whoa, and you're immediately going to try to explain to the computer or your phone or whatever it is that you are watching this on, and you're going to be yelling at me and saying, whoa, 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 right? When we have been a victim of something, no matter what that is, right? It doesn't matter on a scale, right? When we have been victimized, it's very difficult to look at that and think that that person that did that or people who did that had any kind of positive intention. So let me be clear. I'm not talking about their intentions with you. I'm talking about their intentions for themselves. We all do this, right? Every single thing that we do, every decision that we make, every word that we speak, we are getting something out of that, right? Even when we are talking to ourselves, the language that we use, if we're propping ourselves up or putting ourselves down, we are getting something from that. Now, that's not always a positive thing, right? If you are experiencing a lot of negative self talk, like most of us in this group do, and you find yourself telling yourself that you're stupid, or you're ugly, or you're worthless, or you can't do it, you're not good enough, whatever it is, the language that you're using, surprisingly enough, you have a positive intention for yourself in saying that. Yes, it's become a habit. No, it's not true at all. It's become something that you've said to yourself through the actions and the words, probably of somebody else, or maybe a series of experiences that you had when you were very young, that's caused you to develop this belief. And now you've been looking at your whole life and every experience since through the eyes of somebody who already believes they're not good enough, which means that instead of finding evidence to the contrary, you have gone out of your way, whether you've realized it or not, to find evidence to prove yourself right. And I'm not talking necessarily that you got this belief that you're not good enough through abuse either. If you've watched any of my other videos, I think just in my last video, actually, I used the example of being just a little child and taking longer than everybody else in the house to tie your shoes because you're still learning. And maybe you had an older sibling that was making fun of you, right? And that stuck. It just made you feel like you weren't like everybody else in your family. It didn't matter that you are the younger one, that you didn't develop the skills, the hand-eye coordination and the dexterity yet to be able to tie your shoes quickly. Never mind if you broke that shoelace while you were tying your shoe, right? Something that was the end of the world then that is laughable now, right? And endearing now. But still, that might be where some of those negative beliefs about yourself and your abilities actually started. And I know that for me, when I started the really deep work, I was really surprised by how much of my belief system didn't have to do with my past abuse. I mean, yes, hands down, there are some big issues that I uncovered that were from my past abuse, but a lot of stuff I realized actually came from completely other experiences, and experiences that didn't have to be experiences that I took as me not being good enough, but that it just in that moment, for whatever reason, a series of events throughout that day, and somebody making fun of me just at the wrong time, at the wrong moment, right? When other things were going on in my mind in that day, and it just solidified that I didn't fit in, that I wasn't good enough. Okay. So when we are looking at somebody who is, well, let's look at ourselves first. When we are having that negative self talk that I was saying, believe it or not, you do have a positive intention there. And that is to meet whatever need, right? We all have needs that we're trying to meet. We all deserve and need to feel loved, accepted, wanted, respected, for example. There's nothing wrong with those needs. We also deserve and need to feel safe and secure. And again, absolutely nothing wrong with those needs. But the thing is that we learn through, our young years and all the way through habit, how to meet those needs that sometimes are in really not very positive ways. So when you're talking to yourself negatively and you're putting yourself down, oftentimes what you're really doing is you're meeting that need to keep yourself safe because you've realized that by trying to do something, you are pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And that can be a very scary place. And so you're talking negatively to yourself to rein in yourself so that you are now not going to do that, right? You're not going, whatever that is, right? And everybody's comfort zone is different. And so right now your comfort zone might be a very, very small place, right? And other people's comfort zone is much larger. My comfort zone is way out here now, but it used to be quite small. And I always know when I'm pushing my boundaries, even if I haven't consciously become aware of it, because my negative self-talk will come back, right? And so it's about awareness and realizing it's not necessarily so much that you truly wholeheartedly believe these things that you're saying to yourself, but they meet a need. They keep you safe. They keep you in your comfort zone, all nice and tucked in, warm and cozy, where you don't have to risk anything, right? And so that is your positive intention. Now it's coming out in a very negative way, right? You're putting yourself down, you're limiting yourself in what you can do, trying to keep that comfort zone nice and small and tidy so that you don't have to be at any kind of risk. When you start to develop that kind of awareness, it starts to change everything because then you can start to recognize when you are using that type of language with yourself and you can stop and remove yourself from that situation and say, okay, so what's pushing me out of my comfort zone here? And we could be talking about something as simple as somebody giving you a compliment, right? I used to be horrible with getting compliments. It made me very uncomfortable because it didn't match my narrative of my comfort zone, right? My comfort zone was where I was ugly and stupid and worthless and useless. So when somebody would speak nicely to me, I wanted to know what they wanted, right? They couldn't just be being nice to me. They must have had an angle, right? And that was my way of being negative to myself with a positive intention of keeping myself safe. And you might be resonating with that right now. So when you're able to take yourself out of the scenario and just step back and ask, what is it where's my comfort zone, first of all, and what is it that's triggering me to feel like I'm no longer going to be safe or loved or accepted or respected or whatever it is? What's the need that I'm trying to meet here? right? And it's not the need that needs to be changed. It's quite possibly the way that you're going about trying to meet it. So let's take that example that I hope that you've resonated with and you've gone, oh, I see what you mean now, Lisa. This is starting to make sense. And let's put this onto the people that have done you wrong in your life. It's the exact same thing. They have needs that they are trying to meet, right? They're trying to feel loved and accepted and respected. They're trying to feel safe. And of course, one of the other needs that we all have is to feel empowered, right? And of course, empowerment is very different from control. And some people are very confused by that and they really mix the two up and they feel to be empowered, they have to be in control of somebody else. And so, if that's their logic, if that's their conscious thought and their unconsciousness fueling them in their behavior, then they are seeking out ways to control their life, their situations, their circumstances, and the lives of the people that are around them, right? They seek power, not empowerment, right? And, depending again, what type of abuse or what experiences, right? We could be talking about bullying here. We could talk about a friendship circle that decides that you're no longer welcome in that circle. They didn't necessarily bully you, but they excluded you, right? We could be talking about all kinds of things. It doesn't have to be abuse, but the logic is the same. Those people that have done you wrong in your life, whether it's a cheating spouse, even, or we're talking about violence or abuse and everything in between, they did whatever they did with the positive intention to meet their needs. They were clearly doing it in a very negative way, just like you are meeting your need to stay safe and secure by talking down to yourself. At first, when you hear it, it makes absolutely no sense. But when we go through it, it's like, actually, that does make sense. They're doing the same thing or did do the same thing. They weren't necessarily going about it in a positive way, but their intention was to have a positive outcome for them, right? When you're making decisions, when somebody gives you a compliment, for example, and you immediately, whether you verbalize this or you internalize this, when you immediately put yourself down or you wonder, what is it that they want from me? What's the, where's the shoe going to drop or something along those lines, right? You've got that positive intention of keeping yourself safe because you don't want to be duped, right? You don't want to buy in and be like, oh, thank you. You think I look really beautiful. And then them make fun of you for something or whatever. They may not have given you any reason at all to believe that that's what they would do. You're making that assumption based on your past experiences because your past experiences had led you to believe that you're not good enough, right? So the internal narrative is not matching what they are saying to you, but you still have the positive intention of keeping yourself safe there. It's just your way of doing it is by doing something very negative. They've done the same sort of thing. You're not sitting there worried about how they're going to feel if you just say, oh, thanks, and change the subject and move on. And all the language in your own head is all like, oh my God, she's totally gaslighting me, or whatever it is that you're saying to yourself. You're not concerned about, even if you were to say that out loud, right? Oh, this old thing, or oh no, my hair's all frizzy today, or whatever it is, you're not sitting there with your top priority being concerned with how they are going to react to your reaction. In fact, it probably hasn't even entered your mind. You might be being polite and saying, thanks, and then changing the subject, right? But that, again, doesn't really have to do with them, does it? Maybe you were raised to be really polite and accept, compliments and whatnot. And so you're just kind of doing, again, habit of what you were taught. But more than likely, you're also just trying to avoid them finding out that you don't believe them. The possible interaction that could happen if you challenge them with that compliment, right? So again, it's not really about what they're going to be feeling or thinking. It's about you and keeping yourself safe. And that is not the same as being selfish at all. Okay, I'm not saying that we're all walking around there with no thought for anybody else and not experiencing any kind of empathy. No. But even when we are doing something really good, even when we're donating to a good cause, for example, right, there is an element of that. Of course, we're donating because we want to help. But there's an element of that where we are meeting a need of our own. We have a positive intention of our own. And that's to feel like we've made a difference, feel like we're doing our part. Again, that's not selfish, but to bring the awareness forward that we're always trying to meet our own needs, a positive intention for us in every single thing that we do, that can help you to realize that your abuser, your bullies, all of the, your cheating spouse, your whatever, they were all doing the same thing. You weren't part of it. You were there. The actions and the words that they chose to use and do obviously had a very negative impact, but that's not what they set out for. In fact, they probably weren't thinking about the impact it had on you at all. They were doing something positive for themselves. And again, that doesn't mean that it was an actual positive thing that they did, but in their mind, it met a need. That's the positive thing. When you are able to start to do that for yourself now, right now in this moment, with the language that you're using to yourself right now, and you start to realize, I think there might be something to this. Yeah, I'm starting to see a trend here. When I do stop myself, I am noticing that Lisa's right. I'm on the cusp of my comfort zone. So, yeah, actually, I'm just trying to protect myself. When you start getting really comfortable with that and really aware of that, first of all, it's really difficult for you to continue to do it because awareness just, it changes everything, right? You become aware of what you're doing. It's hard to keep doing it, getting in your own way. But then what we're really looking for is for you to be able to kind of go back into some of those memories. And I don't mean that you would relive abuse or trauma in any way, shape, or form, but we all know that you're still doing it anyways, right? You're thinking about at least how it made you feel, right? I know because I've been there. So now we can actually start applying this same lesson to that, and we can start realizing we don't need to know what it was, what the need was they were trying to fulfill. It doesn't matter at all, right? That doesn't change anything. But the fact that we can recognize that there was a need and this was the choice that they were making in order to meet that need, then it starts to allow you to take yourself out of it. And instead now of it being, well, I deserve to be hit or I deserve to be abused because I wasn't good enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't funny enough. I wasn't enough. Now suddenly none of that is true. Right? Whether you believe that you're good enough and funny enough and smart enough and all of that, that part doesn't actually matter anymore now. You don't have to challenge these deep rooted beliefs yet. All you have to do is start to recognize that that's not what motivated them to do whatever it is that they did or say whatever it is that they said. They were all driven by positive intentions for themselves. You had nothing to do with it. Your abuse wasn't about you, it was about them. And that changes everything. I hope that this was helpful. I saw a few of you popped on in the live. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For everybody watching in the replay, of course, feel free to leave your comments. Let me know if you have come to this realization already, if you had an aha moment during this live, and if you are implementing some of what I am talking about here. Come back in a few days and tell us how you're doing with that. I would love to hear it. And same thing, if there's something that you would like me to specifically address, please do that because I'm going to come on live, try to come on twice a week for you now at different times so I can reach everybody in their different time zones. So bless, bless, bless. If you'd like to talk to me in person about how NLP can help you, then just go to lifelikeyoumeanit.com/calendar and you can book a free 30-minute call with me. And we can get right down to the root of what's going on with you as a unique individual and exactly what we can do to help. Bless. Bye.